Right, you lot, it is finally fishing time, or feeding time, isn't it? When all the carp want to finally have a chew for this brief couple of weeks every year that it seems. And we've come to a venue that is fishing absolutely phenomenal at the minute. We've come to Old Hough Fisheries, somewhere I've been spending a little bit of time recently fishing a couple of open matches and a Fish Midlands qualified as well. I've been absolutely loving it here. And it's very rare these days I get to spend some time at a venue. And recently it's been nice coming here and learning. I mean, it's really, really nice to come somewhere newish and learn how the fish are behaving. And something that's really, really caught my attention here in that most of the matches here, it's very much a known venue for being quite tricky to start with and then unbelievable late on. And I've been seeing signs in the last few matches I've been coming thinking, I can do this better. I feel like I'm skipping all over the place. I'm spreading my fish. And something just wasn't quite right. So we've came for a nice little sneaky practice session sort of thing today, where what I'm going to try and do is concentrate my fish. Yeah, as I say, the fish are feeding, they're coming to us, they're feeding short. What I want to be able to do is see what I can do to keep fish coming for as long as possible by using just one ear in my peg. It's become a massive big thing at many venues that I fish, is that by concentrating fish, you're both understanding your peg far better by just fishing one small area of your peg, but also you're bringing all them fish in and creating far more competition, which often leads to you catching quicker, faster, better, whatever else. That is what I want to try and do. And today it's all going to be about fishing short, using my peg in as many ways as I can to keep fish separate, feed pegs in different ways, work out how to fish them slopes, and yeah, just hopefully work out how to keep fish coming steadily through the match instead of having any lulls and any big chaos periods at the end. I just want to catch fish nice and steady all day. So that is what today is going to be all about. So follow me to the peg. I'm going to get my kit sorted and hopefully we're going to have a right day skipping about, extracting some of Old Hough's massive carp. So focusing on one area of the peg is all well and good, but you can't actually decide for me what to do really in depth, how I'm going to fish it. All depends on what it shows when I plumb it up. Obviously, I've done that already on this peg, and it gives me the perfect sort of scenario that I'm looking for. And what I want is multiple depths, but depths that I can fish on. That is the key thing, finding areas that your bait's going to hold on a little bit. Anything that's really steep, I don't want it. This time of year, fish are feeding. I want it to be nice. So I'm going to run through the rigs that I found really, really quick, or the pegs that I've sort of found, the areas in my peg that I found that I'm happy fishing. But it's a case of these variety of areas. I want 1, 2, ideally 3 different areas to be able to target. It just makes things far more versatile. I use that word a lot, but makes things far more versatile, meaning I can do different things in different depths. And more to the point, I can keep in touch with my fish. Yeah, very, very rarely, even at the most stupid of venues, am I going to catch tight into the bank all day. I mean, that's going to be in the most confident periods of the match session, whatever, where the fish are going to feed tight to that bank. Where today, you can see I've got my rig set lovely here. I've got 20 inches. That's the shallowest water I can find today. I've been in there, made my edge all beautiful, all snag-free, but literally touching the bank that you lot can't see yet. But you will do lots when we fish it, because we've got the GoPro there ready. I've got a lovely little flat shelf touching the bank in the shallowest possible water I can find. Standard edge fishing. I mean, it's what we do all the time when we want to just fish the edge. We want the shallowest water we can find. It's what we do. I mean, nothing different there. However, what happens here is quite a severe slope, which is normal. In Snake Lakes, you always tend to get quite a steep gradient close in. So what I have got, my next rig, say that one's just over 20 inch, 21 inches, that one to be exact. That's my shallowest water. I would have liked it a little bit shallower, but for today. That'll be absolutely fine. It's that shallow water, touching the bank. That's what I want to get. We've talked about it a million times. It's finding the area that the fish can't get behind my float. That's where I want to be with that rig. But that is where they only end up when they're feeding really, really confidently. Generally, later on in the session. I mean, I've been coming here quite a bit, as I mentioned before, and it seems to be a case that it gets so good in the last hour or two when you're fishing the normal match hours till 3:30. But what I've been noticing in the last couple of matches is there's fish presence all day. Not necessarily on your best line, take to the bank, but there's fish visiting, I'm going to say. Whether they're feeding or not, I don't know, but there's definitely fish visiting. So hopefully today, by having multiples, like this is my next one, in that for today's case, what was this one? Let me have a quick look how deep that was. I think it was about 35 inch if I remember. It was 36 inches, that one. No, it wasn't. It was 35 inch, 34.5 inch. But I didn't find that, set it at that and find it. What I actually did was bounce my plummet about a little bit, as Jakey can show you lot now. You can see him nicely. It was bouncing this about here. Yeah, that kept it really, really nice. And you can see, if I come a little bit closer, it's a steep slope. Yeah, my plummet's actually bobbling down it a little bit. Whereas here, oh, let me sort him. Jakey was pointing at me then, I didn't know what he was on about. It was that my elastic was wrapped around it. Here's my area where I've got a little flat spot there. Yeah, again in nearly 12 inches more water. That'll give them a lot more confidence, but I've got that depth there where my bait's going to hold a little bit. Yeah, in between that one and my shallower one, as you can see, it's a really steep gradient. So my bait's just going to naturally fall down that. So I want to go to the base where it's sticking here. But it does go further as well. I mean, it carries on going all the way down to here, where it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, where I've got another rig set that I'm not actually going to show you plummet up this one. This is just a case of finding it to there. That's the bottom of the slope. So within that meter sort of thing, from here to tight to the bank, I've got 3 different lines I can potentially fish, which it's exactly the same way as I'd approach that far bank. I mean, if I was going to fish the far bank with pellets, hello mate, that is what I'd do. Yeah, I'd cover me 3 depths and see where the fish are, because what I want to do is concentrate my fish. That's what the whole video is about. It's concentrating fish, just concentrating on one line, but giving yourselves options in depth so you've got the fish to come in, out and be wherever they want to be. Even use different depths to target different species at the start of the session, when not all the big fish are necessarily feeding. But by keeping them in one place, I can understand what's going on so much better. I mean, exactly the same principles as what I do with hard pellets across when I like fishing that. This is a case of when they're feeding really well at this time of year now, which here they're having a phenomenal chew, I can just concentrate my whole match down here and I can understand what's going on. You're just so clued into things and you know exactly where you're going to be. So, without further ado, shall I have a quick chat about rigs? Shall I show them rigs really quick? Let me go through rigs really quickly, and then I'm going to show you how I start feeding and we're going to go from there. Right, riggy bit really, really quick. And things have changed a little bit in terms of how the type of rigs I want to fish. Yeah, we're fishing for predominantly proper fish. We're going to catch some little skimmers and perch as well, but it's predominantly proper fish, like 4 to 10 pound carp. So we ain't messing about. So my gear's all really positive for it. I've got 018 to 017 on my line on our soft steel stuff, which I'm loving. I've got 2 mil elastic. I mean, suit that to whatever you're doing. But then my floats are the important bit. Yeah, I used to be a fan of like muddy style floats, all of that, but I just find them too positive so often now. And the issue when I'm fishing with muddy style floats with a bulk on top of a short hook length is I don't like that tight line. I mean, I've spoken about this in so many videos recently, in that what we've learned from the underwater stuff is that when a fish comes in contact with a tight line in the peg, they just behave completely different. They're not happy, they know it's present. So I don't want that. Yeah, I want slightly more delicate rigs. I think they're the order of the day. Putting a bit of line on the bottom, it just makes a bit of difference. And you'll see that when I've actually plumbed up as well. All my rigs are sort of plumbed up to the bottom of my body. So I am putting a good inch or 2 on the bottom. Just a bit of slack, a bit of a curve, just, as I say, get away from that tight line. So all the floats are exactly the same. We're just all on our carbon slims. They're like the summary type version with a slightly bigger, I think they're a 1.6 mil. I don't know the 1.5s, I'm sure they're a 1.6 mil bristle on them. So they're still nice and positive. But what I do want them to be able to do is to show my bait up on the bottom. Yeah, my bait is as simple as it possibly gets. I've got maggots or corn, corn being the main bait. That's my favourite for fishing this sort of peg. I need a float that shows my bait what it's doing pretty much, because I've got such a small shelf tight to the bank, and because I've got a bit of an incline on the other two. I want my bait to be shown when I'm off bottom, too much on bottom, whatever else. So by using a slightly more delicate float, a little bit less buoyant float, I can do that. I mean, shot in, really simple on all of them. We've just got spread books. Yeah, I've got 4-inch hook lengths on all of them. I always have now, always, with a 4-inch hook length. I have a shot on the hook length. That's just a number 10, just straightens the knots out. And then I've got 3 number 10s above that, as basic as it gets. I mean, nothing fancy, a bit of weight that holds it in, but not too much weight to create that horrible tight line. I've got rid of that. The other rigs, I'll just show you one of them because they're identical. They're literally just the same, 0.4 floats. That first one was a 0.2, by the way. The next 2 floats are 0.4s, just because I'm fishing in what's that in old school? 34 inches. Someone will know, Jake. 1, 2, nearly 3 foot in it. You were on it, aren't you? You're young as well. You shouldn't know stuff like that. Anyway, yes, there you go. It's a bit deeper, so we've got a 0.4 on that one, just for the stability. I mean, it's really, really steep there. I want to be able to keep my float in place. Shot in with that one, exactly the same, just with number 9s. And then the last one is the same again, just a couple of inches deeper. The last one was, what's this one? 40 inch, what's that?
3'4".
There you go. So there's all my depths covered, and it's the depths where my bait's going to stay. I mean, it could have been a case of I've got my shallow water tight to the bank, and then I've got a really steep incline where bait's not going to sit, and then the bottom of the slope. In that case, I just pick them too. I mean, if I don't feel like my bait can stick on an area, don't bother fishing it. You're utterly wasting your time if it's too much of an incline and your bait's going to roll. That it's something I'm going to show you later. When I'm feeding and you see where your bait's gone, if it's not where you need it to be, right over your float, you might as well chuck your bait down there. I mean, you're not going to catch it unless you're setting your trap accurately. Anyway, onto the fishing. And I'm not going to mess about. So I barely had a dabble on this. We had one little drop in with maggots before, and I caught a perch. I want to start on my middle line. I mean, I've not prepped anything. I've not fed too much bait anywhere else. All I've done is drop a couple of micro pellets on that middle line to see if any fish are coming in. I've not fed me shallow one. I've not fed me deeper one. So by starting in the middle, and in this case, I'm going to start to begin with, I'm going to start as I would early in a session. I just want to catch anything. So I don't want to be too selective. I'm just going to whack 3 dead maggots on. And knowing this venue, I'm not going to feed any maggots on that middle line to begin with. The only place I'm going to feed maggots is on my deeper line further down the slope. Yeah, because that's when the deeper water is where I'm going to have all my fish, everything. And I'm going to be able to catch anything on that. Whereas on my 2 shallower ones, I want them a lot more selective. I want them to be carp only, or carp, big F1s, whatever else. And I'm just going to feed micro pellets with that one. Yeah, my micro pellets, they've just been wetted, just covered, they've all gone soft, and they're loose. You know, really loose. They're not clagged up yet. I've not made them messy like I have for my other line. They're just going to create a nice bed of bait, especially in that depth, because I'm feeding it in. What did you say I was feeding it in? 2'10". I'm feeding it in a bit deeper. You can see when this one goes in, let's get that in. Still try and put it in a bit of a trap. It goes in and it mushrooms out. So that one spreads over, whatever, 6, 8, 10 inches when it actually gets down there. It's a spread of micro pellets. It's not a concentrated area. I mean, there's things I can do to make it concentrated if I need to, but at first, I don't actually mind that bait wafting about. We've all seen it a million times down the edge. You feed one spot, normally tight to the bank, and within 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to say as a rule, they're swirling 2 meters down the bank. Yeah, once a fish has been in that peg, disturbed it, your bait's all over the place, which, hey, little diddy fish. I wanted to avoid them by not feeding maggots, but we'll see, we'll give that another go. Yeah, I actually want them in this case to spread me bait. I mean, it's great. I've got my trap set to get a bite if one comes in, but I know that that bait's naturally going to get spread anyway, which is going to lead to bait going down onto my deeper line. It's not really going to get pushed up, but I'm going to have bait going down onto my deeper line to almost get that prepped before I even drop on it, which is why I start on my middle line. Yeah, starting in the middle depth, if you've got it, it's the nice way of seeing what's going on. Again, just like I do across. So by starting in the middle, I can see if anything's coming in, which if it's solid and they're coming past my float instantly, here we go, then I can move tight in. Yeah, if they're not, just like that was then, a beautiful example line of not a big fish, this is an F1 on the end, the fish that you're often going to get coming in first, that's their happy depth. So I can go in, catch a few there, and they're not going to spread my bait about too much. Jake, what is going on? Oh, we like completed it. That's like, it's the end, isn't it? That's complete. An Old Hough tench is like the ultimate instant win, isn't it? Look at him, I'm made up, I've caught him. Oh, he's done a poo on me. Anyway, let's let him go. But there we go, proper fish straight in the peg. That's what we're after. So fish like that, tension crucians and weird fish, they're the ones that often sit a little bit deeper. I mean, you're very rarely going to catch them tight to the bank. So by having this line just to say a few inches off, what's that? 10 inches, 20 inches off the far bank, the near bank, it gives me an option of catching different species that if I was being really stubborn now and I was just sat tight in, I wouldn't get a bite. I mean, nothing's come in yet. I'm sort of trying to make things happen too quick. Same again, just loosely tapping them micros in, not trying to create too much of a tight pile at the minute. Say a little bit of it is knowing this venue as well, in knowing that it is a slow burner to kick off. So I'm trying to nurture it. I'm not trying to make something happen that isn't going to happen. It means those carp aren't going to be ready until a little while later. Hopefully a bit quicker today though, with us being sat on our own and above all else with no keep nets in. I'm hoping that's the thing. So I've seen a few fish already mooching out here, where they're sort of having a little sniff, they're mooching about. A little diddy fish. This is why we're not feeding maggots. Don't mind catching an odd one to begin with. But what I will do, if they become a problem, I've obviously got the option of putting sweet corn on as a more selective bait or whatever. Worm on, or a bit of meat if you're allowed at different venues. You're not allowed meat here. Or even expand the pellet. I could put something on that's more selective. But what I will do is start feeding maggots on my deeper one. Because maggots have been a brilliant bait here at the minute. And by feeding them just out there, say another 3/4 of a metre away from me float, I can change where my fish want to be. I can put maggots down there and drag the small fish away, and I can keep this separate. So this is what I'm on about really concentrating on the small area in my peg and trying to sort of get control over what's going on. It's really nice. Another one, that's the cue to get some maggots in. So I'm literally gonna just give it one full cup. This is just a preempt, just to get some fish away, and then I'm gonna come back in a minute. So I'm just gonna put one pot of maggots there. Yeah, and they're dead maggots, but hopefully that should drag any small fish away. But that gives me other line prepped, ready to go. And you can see I've still not put anything on my shallow water one. Yeah, there's utterly no point yet because I've not seen anything. Whereas if I'd saw an odd carp coming in visiting, or even if I'd had indications on this, missed them, foul looked them, whatever, just because I felt like the fish went on the bottom, I can swap to that. And it's a lovely, lovely flexible way of just keeping in touch with them all the time and constantly putting something in your net. Just going to give this one a few more minutes. I normally give this 10 or 15 minutes, but we'll rush things through quite a bit quicker today. You can imagine them micro pellets now are fed, what, 3 or 4 times? They'll be spread over 2 foot. I mean, easy, depending what's coming to me pegs. There's a carp leaving as well. So these are the sort of signs that you're looking for, where the fish are moving. Yeah, or if any bubbles start as well, that's the key thing that's going to tell me where the fish want to be in the peg. That's a perch bite if ever I've seen one. I'll go in a minute. So be selective. I'm just give it one cast with a piece of corn on. Just to see. I'm not feeling it yet. I'm not feeling the big fish being in my peg just yet. But it's worth a go. See another carp in the middle then. So there's 1,000,000% fish about and they know that we're starting to feed. I think it just takes them that confidence to start coming in on whatever line they want to be on. Just going to throw a few more maggots here. Just down my peg again. See how that sat a bit lower on my float this time? So what I want to do is just edge it up a bit. There we go. As I said, that sweet corn makes such a difference in me knowing what's going on. I don't want that tight line, remember. And if my float goes really dotted, I know that my rig's perfectly straight because my sweet corn's weighing my float down. I mean, a decent lump of sweet corn with a 1.5 mil is going to sink it. So just by edging it up like we have there, and you can almost pull it tight. I can almost just move my pole in a little bit, which pulls the float on a bit of an angle. See how it went a bit lower then, but I can release it. See how it comes up? Yeah, that means that my rig's got some slack in it, but if I pull it in that way, it creates a lovely tight trap with a bit of a curve at the bottom, and that tight line isn't above my hook bait. Yeah, once the tight line's above your hook bait, that's when they touch it, feel it, spook out. They don't like it one bit, especially early on when there's no confidence. So what I want to do now is just sit and see what's going on. See, another one's just left the peg. So there's fish mooching. They're not leaving here, but they're in there. Ooh, I don't know, it didn't look very carpy, that, but could have been a skimmer or something. Same again, let that bait go. See how it's over depth, over depth, over depth. I'm just going to keep it tight. Really keep it tight, and then I'm just going to let it go. That's it. Beautiful. Now he's nice and trap is set. As perfect as it could possibly be. And by having it that set in that way, I'm not going to say tight, but that perfect, anything that moves that sweet corn will show up. So my sweet corn gets bashed about, I'll get liners, I'll see that there's a fish present, and it means that I know I can spend time on this line because I can see fish there. Something I do with F1 fishing a lot in the winter as well. See, little indication. Ooh, don't know about that one. That looks a bit more carpy. A bit more carpy, that one. Proper Zorro'd that one then, didn't I? I'll give it another bit of that. So I'm not shy on constantly putting that bait in, because even missing that bite then, if that was a carp or an F1, me spooking it by striking like a flipping lunatic will have moved all my bait. And as I said, because I'm fishing on a hill, none of my bait is going to stay in the area or above it. It's only ever going to wash away. Yeah, it's only ever going to go downhill, your bait. It's not going to, unless there's stuff for it to stick on and that. It's only ever going to go downhill and look after me deeper line though. So I don't mind that sort of happening. I've got the rig there covering it when I need to. I'm not seeing any signs on that other rig yet. I'd expect to, because it's the bottom of the shelf. I'd expect to see an odd. Drop that in, we're not feeding again. I'd expect to see an odd indication, an odd bubble or something at the bottom of the shelf happening if any carp come in. Like what's going on here now, I've just had 3 really positive bites and missed them. Yeah, really, really quickly that could tell me that I could be in too deep a water. They might just want to be much, much higher up, whereas my next one could come in already. There may be a few quick fish to catch on it early in the session, maybe F1s, maybe something different, we'll see. I'm just going to give it one more go. And if it's the case that the same thing happens, really I'd like to foul hook one to be convinced of it, just to not think that the small fish having a pop at me corn. So again, I've got something in place ready for it. I don't know what this is. This is something weird again. Because it's something weird, I'm not going to go shallower. I reckon it's a little F on this. It could be a crucian. If it's a crucian, then that's it. Mr. Crabtree, we're done. All right, it's an F1. But immediately the pegs, I mean, it's kicking off. Things are happening. I'm not expecting to drop in there and catch flipping 200 pounds in the first hour. It's a case of I'm nurturing things and I'm in control of things. And above all else, the hardest thing without doubt in fishing is that I'm understanding what they're doing, or I'm starting to. Yeah, I'm not yet. Hopefully I'm on the way to understanding what's going to be going on in this peg. So until I've tried both lines, or all 3 areas of my peg, or depths, then I'll know exactly what's going on. So still, I'm going to repeat that same thing. I'm never going to feed differently on this line. Yeah, very, very unlikely I'll change my feeding on that line, because there's no need to. I mean, my bait's naturally going to waft away anyway, so I can just feed loose-ish micros on that one, because they're going to spread whether I want it or not. Yeah, and because it's on an incline, if I try and get a stodgy ball or whatever else to stick there, if anything, it's not going to. So I'm going to do it for you later just to explain what I'm on about. If I try and feed a ball or a bit of me stodge that I've got ready for later, it'll hit the bottom and it'll move 6 inches somewhere, and then I'm not fishing over my trap, so it's pointless. So because it's an incline, I want to just tap my micros over the top of it, let them spread, and that way I know I'm fishing within an area of bait. It's not as accurate as it could be if I was setting a beautiful little trap on a flat bottom, but it's as good as I can hopefully hope to achieve with how the bottom is. It's definitely something we don't, myself, as much as anyone's guilty of, is not thinking about what me bait does with how the bottom is. I'm just going to feed them maggots. There's indications, isn't there, things are happening. And swapping to that corn seems to have fixed the perch issues, as hopefully moving me bait or putting some maggots out there. I'm feeding them a bit too far as well, I need to feed them a bit shorter. So I've got dead maggots again, just to hopefully stop the attentions of small fish. There's quite a few in these two lakes. So I thought by going with dead maggots, it might just be a little bit less appealing to roach and skimmers. Same again. So what it does do as well, feeding how I have done, spreading the bait about a bit, it gives me another opportunity of a bite. When I have missed a bite like that, or a bit of an indication, I don't mind dropping back in and giving it sort of a second go for a few seconds, because my pile isn't quite as intense as what it would be if I were tight to the bank. But what I am going to do, I'm just going to have this cast, and then again, just to learn and just to try and put a few more fish in the net, 'cause this isn't fast and furious, but I wouldn't be unhappy with it. I'd be very, very happy with it, in fact, because this is the right fish that we were after. This is what we wanted. This is the first large one that's arrived in the peg. You see the stamp on them here, they average about £5 pretty much on here. So you've not got to catch too quick, it's just a steady plod. Oh yeah, boy. So I'd have said, if I'd not been fishing it, I'd have said, oh, nothing's coming in the edge yet. I've not seen any sign of any carp. But this is what I was getting at what I'd been seeing in the previous matches, about fish sort of little signs that there was an odd visit, an odd little change of colour, an odd little swirl past me back, just little things that made me think, yeah, they're visiting that. And I'm not catching these fish over there. He's not happy, is he? Whereas by really concentrating, giving them as few options as possible, I mean, I'm going to put these early visitors into my net, and when they're that sort of size, I don't know if I'm brave enough to pick this one up, Jake. He seems a bit lively, doesn't he? You're going to make me, aren't you? I'm going to give him a quick look at. But when they're that sort of size and they're coming in early, I'm wimping out already, people. There is no better way of putting fish in your net. You know, I'm concentrating, I'm catching fish that most people think are only going to feed late on, but by fishing a little bit different areas, look at him, he's right at me off. I'm putting things in the net. So, really, I should go on that. I mean, I should go straight back on it. That's what I should be doing. I shouldn't be coming off that peg yet. But I'm going to, just for rushing the video along, to try and show you what I'm actually getting at. So what I'd do, I'd sit on that one, I'd catch as many as I could, fishing in the middle bit. That's always going to be the happy area until too many fish come into my peg. But what I can do then is when loads of fish come into my peg, I've got my stodgy stuff. So I've got my bait that I've made really, really claggy, and I've got my micro pellets, put a big handful in. I've put a handful of ground bait in as well that I've just mixed normally to begin with. And I've added 2 handfuls of micros to 1 handful of dry ground bait. And then I've stodged it all up. I've put 3 pots more of water in. So you're technically making a paste. It is a claggy, nasty paste, but it's full of micro pellets. So it breaks down. Hello, Robin. Let me give the Robin some bait. Yeah. It breaks down far, I'm not going to say quicker, it holds in place better because of the micro pellets and breaks down a bit slow instead of just feeding ground baits. Ground bait waft away really, really quick. So I'm just going to put this in, but then I want to go on the deeper one. So I'm just going to show you what I want to do. Is this little stodgy bit. I'm going to stodge him. I don't want him to be a ball because I don't want him to roll off. I want just a stodgy little pancake thing going on. And I'm going to flop him in. I'm going to put a couple of pieces of corn. I don't think they stay in place, the corn, but they do what they do. And I'm going to get this one ready, because if I can get them on this, this is no liners, clean bites, beautiful area. And I'm just going to feed that lump tight to the bank, and I'm going to cup it in to the bank as well. Yeah, the biggest mistake in the world I see is people rolling the cup away from the bank. You do that, your bait goes that way. Yeah, I want my bait to want to stay into that bank as much as it possibly can. So I don't know if you lot can see it, I'm going to tip it that way. Yeah, so my bait's going to come out. I'm literally going to put my cup right against the bank, flop it in, and it means that bait's going to stay against that sort of right angle right at the bottom. Because if I have it the other way, it'll just fall off the slope, roll down the hill somewhere, it'll disperse. But with a bit of luck, by feeding in that way, it keeps it where I want it to be. And what I'm going to do quickly now is try my deeper one. Yeah, just to see what's going on. Obviously, as I said, I should be on the middle one. That is happy. I've just got a carp on it. What have I got in the net? I've got £9 in the net. 8, yeah, what was he? He was £7. £9 I've got in the net really, really quick. So next, I'm going to try me maggots. Just me loose fed. No ground bait or pellets on this line at all. This one's just loose fed maggots. I'm just going to feed a full cup of them and see what's there. So in today's case, I think this line's going to be borderline a write-off. So get rigging. Let's just have a look. So I'm saying it'll be a write-off, but yeah, it's got a good chance. Only at this point. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's completely disregarded. Anything can happen. This is flipping first half hour of a session, isn't it? There's no way all 3 lines are going to be full of the right fish that I want to be catching. But really, really quickly, I'll tell you what, I don't know how little that was. That felt a bit different. Really, really quickly, I'm going to know where I can spend my time, where I need to be spending my time. I mean, in this one, there we go, I think it is. It's just bite, 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 bite. It's just ticking off that it's just, this is where all my perch have gone. But it's a good thing, because it's got rid of the fish where I want to be catching them now. That if I hadn't had these 3 lines covered, I'd never know that was a possibility. So yeah, I'm happy to, for now, look at the size of him, to leave that one. I mean, I'm not going to change it. That would be an option. In fact, let me just drop on it once more really quick. It would be an option to change the bait, don't get me wrong, if I wanted to be really, really selective. I could also feed micros and corn, or just corn maybe on that line. But I don't actually mind having a peg with lots of activity in it. That one just down with all the little fish there. As I said, firstly, it keeps them away from the lines that I want to fish, because I'm fishing maggots out here. It keeps these little fish happy. And not where I want to be catching them. But secondly, I do know how good it could be later on. I mean, the other day I caught really, really well on maggots. It just means the carp aren't feeding in that area at this time. So I'm just going to feed it really gently now, just every now and again with a decent handful of dead ends. And it's still there just in case I need to drop on it. It's just full of little fish. There's 1,000,000% no decent fish on this one. But I have just seen a little bit of a cloud come up where I fed that ground bait on the stuff tight in. So I'm just going to have this one more bite on this now. See what's on the end. Here you go. Nothing exciting, but that's there just in case I need to. So my elastic's that heavy, I'm yet to land one of them vermin. So I know straight away that line, it's not a write-off, it's pointless at this time. But my next decisions would be, I'll go back to me 3/4, me in between one. I'll sit on that. I'm actually going to have a go on the shallow one first, but I'll try me deeper, me middle one. If I can catch steady on that, great. Sit there, keep on catching steady. If I couldn't, if that went rubbish, then I'd know I'd need to swap my bait on the other one. That's when I would be more selective in the deeper water. But as long as I can get bites on the mid-depth one, as we say in this case, I can keep that as maggots. I mean, I've got some variety there. I can catch some other fish if it goes really tricky in the middle. But I'm keeping my options open, sort of thing. What I'm going to do now, though, really quick, is have a little go on my sexy one, just to show you, hopefully, a few are rocking up on that, and just to explain what I was talking about my pile staying in the right place. That's really, really, really important. So let's get on the shallow. Let's get on the shallow water line and have a go at that. Right. So of course, corn is the bait again. Always the bait for me, the heavy one that keeps it in place. And already I've seen how many little fish are coming into the peg. I'd be wasting my time trying to fish with maggots anywhere. I'm just being inefficient because little fish are getting to it all the time. So got my stodgy mix. This one's all about the stodgy mix, keeping it where I want it to go. As I say, I've just gone, what the percentage is, 66% of micro pellets to 34% of thingy, of power scopex I've gone with, the nicest smelling ground bait in the world. And I've just gone with our biggest cad pots, not cad pots, biggest pole pots. That's going to create a lovely little lump like that, that's going to stay, as I say, where I want it to be. My shelf, I've actually put my hand in there and had to poke about. My shelf is literally that big. I've got the tiniest little window. So if I don't get my feed right, my bait's going to have fallen off that shelf and I'm going to be fishing a single hook bait on top of the shelf with my bait somewhere else. The worst possible scenario I could be imagining. So what I want to do, same again, hopefully you lot can see this now with the GoPro in place, is get that pile to fall in that way. I don't actually mind it falling in just before me float. Bait gets completely vertical, my pot gets vertical. And then I'm going to plop that in there. I'm going to put my bait, my float, on top. And so because I've got corn on, again, it shows what's going on. Yeah, I know that my corn is on that slope. Yeah, I know that my pile's on the slope as well. I don't know if you lot can get it, but the fizzing, the activity of the ground bait, which is why I want that ground bait added to my micro pellets, it shows where my pile is. And at the minute, it is absolutely perfectly bang on, exactly where I want it to be. So I know I'm fishing over my pile. But what I am going to do quickly is just show you if I'd have got it wrong, same again with my other one. If I'd have been an inch out, a couple of inches out, and it'd have gone there, you can see everything sinks. Yeah, my corn's being suspended, it ain't no good. So bring that back up onto the pile. Little bubbles just come up then, but I think that's just been released from me. Oh, I don't want that. I think that little bubble that came up then is being released from my ground bait. So I'm going to pop him in. There you go. My float's sitting up again. I know my corn's nice. I'm just going to get my back shot, put it against the mud. And my pole's tight against it, so my float can't move away from that little area. And I've got my back shot really close to my float, just sort of like 4 inches away, 3 inches away from my float. And I can hold that just in the water, and in turn it all helps it pin my bait right against that bank, and as I say, on the little slope that I've created. And what I want to do now is hopefully wait for one to arrive. So I am definitely rushing things. Really, I shouldn't be on this line yet. This should be this will be for much later on, when there's a lot more fish feeding and they're competing for the bait. So finding the shallowest water possible and getting against the bank is vital. That is what this rig's for. But for the sake of the video today, obviously I'd love to end on catching one on this. But if not, if it's just a case of it being too early, it isn't a problem. I mean, I've still got my other 2 options to drop down to. And what I'll do, if I don't get a bite on this within a couple of minutes, oh, something in my peg then, maybe an indication then. So if I don't get a bite on this, I just drop onto my next one. And so if you weren't to have them options covered like we have, you'd never know what was going on your peg. You just assume that the edge is the edge. I mean, and they're either there or they're not. Don't know what's going on then, whether that's a little indication. See how my float's gone low? So I think something's been in my peg then and wafted me corn off the slope. So just bring it back up, plonk it back down, get that back shot, pin it against the bank. We're fishing again. So I don't mind my float sitting up a little bit. It just means that my line's slack. And I'm going to get really positive bites on this anyway, so I don't need to worry about not seeing anything that's going on. Just going to be nice and patient. As long as I feel that pile still in place, I'm happy sitting there. So unfortunately, the fizzing doesn't last too long. You normally get probably a minute or 2 out your fizzing, where you know exactly where your bait is. And then once you lose that, you're sort of waiting to see if you get an indication or not, to see if you need to do it again. Standard trap setting stuff in it. We've done it all 1,000 times before, but this is just a extremely accurate version of it. Just going to see if anything comes in on that. So I would have expected something to happen on this really quick. An indication at the very least. But what I might do for the sake of this, I might just give it one more feed. Just in case something wafted off. I've not seen anything yet. I've not seen the colour change or any swirls or anything like that. There's not been a clear indication that fish are coming in. Which again, I keep sort of repeating myself a bit, but that's why that next one, the other line is literally what, a foot away? No, 1.5 foot away from that float. And that's got indications all the time, whereas this one just simply isn't moving. The fish aren't ready for that yet, which you wouldn't believe would be that sort of difference, would you? A little bit of mud just came up to the right of it then. I'm going to feed it once more really quick. Let's give it a quick go. And if not, I'm going to drop onto that deeper one. Just show you what I mean by having the options open and keeping in tune with your peg. Like now that I've had to go on all three, I feel I know really well what the fish are doing in my peg at the minute, where they want to be. They're thinking about coming in, but they're not ready to go into the shallow water yet. And I know I've got a lot of little fish in my peg that I've kept them happy down the bank a bit. I don't know what am I doing here? Let's get that line in. One little bit of grass and it's been a pain. How accurate I've got to be. If I rush that float in ever, there we go. My sweet corn always wants to fall off that. See that indication then? 1,000,000% that was a fish in my peg then. And there's only a little tiny shelf there, so I know only one fish can fit on that at a time. Yeah, another indication then. There's definitely a fish there now. Another one, so it's not going to last long. That's my problem. My bait is not going to stay there for long at all. Such a little pile. If a fish of the size of the one I caught before comes in, you can imagine how little time that bait lasts. If I don't get a bite off it, very quickly I'm fishing over nothing. So I keep repositioning my float all the time. So what I was on about, that delicate bristle shows me what my bait is doing all the time. Yeah, if it keeps falling off that slope, then I'm dragging it back all the time to get it in place exactly where I want it to be. Just going to check it's not my back shot moving that. No. Give it 10 more seconds. If I don't get one, I'm going to go into that deeper water. Definitely like one visit into another indication then. Really, I'm confident that a carp's been in that peg now. This is a good sign, a first sort of visitor in shallow water. So I was definitely rushing this for the sake of doing a video. We shouldn't have been on it yet, but it'd have been lovely to catch a quick one on it. Yeah, see, there's colours changed there as well now. So there's definitely been a visitor in that shallower water. But what it will mean as well is that it's because of how long it took me to get an indication and a bite, I think the other line will actually be really good. The one a bit deeper, that's where they're going to be mooching about, having a little look now. There's just not many poking their heads up on top of that shelf and having a feed just because there's no confidence there yet. So let's give it 5 more seconds. If it doesn't go under, I'm going to whiz on that other one. And then there, I'm sure I'll catch one really quick there. And the session will probably be a case of swapping between the two all day then. So potentially dropping on the maggot line later on if I need to just top me weight up with a few little fish if it goes really tricky in the middle of the day. But I'm sure, now that I've had a quick go, that's taken me, what, 15-20 minutes to have a go through all of them. Another fish in my peg then. So this is what they do on this shallow water. No, it must just be a confidence thing or a lack of competition thing. in that the first fish that come onto this are always nigh on impossible to catch, really, really tricky to catch. Whereas when they're a little bit deeper, they're just so much happier and so easier to get bites off. So yeah, I'm going to whiz off this now. That was a lot longer than the 5 seconds I said I was going to give it. But back on me middle rig, make sure I've got the right one. And I'll be amazed if I don't get something happen really quickly on this one. So I'm trying to pick the nice bits of corn. And I like the in-between bits of corn. Yeah, the great big heavy ones, they're for when it's solid and they're at the top of the shelf later on. The tiny ones are for the non-selective catch all sorts. But the middle ones, like this piece I've got on now, this is me happy. Shows up on me bristle, lovely. Catches everything, pieces of corn. And again, hopefully that'll sink that bristle because I'm just off. Only pull it in. It looks like there's loads of mud on me. Really shallow on now. But you've got to be careful. You can't let every little indication drag you into changing. I've been guilty of that so many times myself at skipping about too much. I mean, you've seen the size of the fish. There's an element of patience needs to be employed. So I'm only really looking at catching 50 pound maybe in the first 3 hours. And it's only ever going to get better and better. Maybe even 3.5 hours. Before the last hour when they get a lot of confidence and they come right up the slope. And we can catch really fast. Let's see what gets on this now. I'm expecting an indication quite quick on this. Something's happening then. If it's caught in the muck, relay that in again. Weird, isn't it? That bit of muck on the water just makes your float behave completely different. You in? I'll be nice and patient. And I should, with a bit of luck, see there's definitely fish there, getting lots of little wobbles. There's another carp here then. That's where they seem to always see them, like 3 and 4 metres out, where they're uncatchable on that line. But that's where they swim and then they just sneak in, have a little feed and then go back out. So what I've not seen today that I was seeing the last 2 matches I fished is fish moving past my bait and like sneaking in that way. Maybe that's because I've given them the option of some bait deeper down on different lines that they can sneak in a bit more without getting detected, sort of thing. There's an odd indication on this. Need a nice little positive one and then we're away. So if I can get 5 or 6 bites every hour on this, that'll be enough for me to keep going, ticking over. Hey, well, that took a minute, I'm going to say. And it's definitely not the fish I was expecting, but it's quality fish, and that is all that matters. Serious quality fish as well. That's like a carp bream. Look how angry he is. What? Look at that. I don't mind that. That's a carp, innit? I know it's not. But that is as good as a flipping carp, innit? So if I'd have just sat there on that shallow water, that wouldn't be going in my net. So I've had a tench and that for probably what? Nearly £5? Just by having the versatility and keeping your options open, feeding in slightly different ways, but thinking about how you're feeding. I mean, feeding in the correct way for, firstly, the species that you're after and the bottom that you're fishing on, the gradient to the bottom, absolutely massive. And then there's the minefield of silt, but we're going to leave that alone in this video. Luckily, there's no silt involved. But yeah, have a little go with that. Next time you're out, keeping things simple, keeping things concentrated, just by focusing in one area of the peg. At this time of year, when the fish are willing to have a feed, it can be absolutely frightening. So have a go at that next time you're out. Feel free to like and subscribe because we love creating this content for you and it really, really does help. And I'll see you on the next one.